Now, while money and time are often the top two priorities that we hear from sellers, terms is often one that comes up or that people don't realize is actually their priority. They may think that it's time or money, but it's actually the terms of the sale that's most important to them. We see this in scenarios where family members that need to be moving out or buying a new house are present. We see it when there's tenants involved. We see it when there's certain kind of interesting caveats to a property sale. Things like owning it with friends or owning it with family members. Things where we need some money now, we need some money later. We need to be able to live in the property for a certain period of time. We need to close on this exact date, where they do involve time and money, but it really comes down to logistics or terms of the sale that is most important. In these scenarios, often working with an investor is the best route because an investor has the ability to be flexible. An owner-occupant that's using a real estate agent, they typically have a timeline in mind, or they have a certain amount of money in mind, and they want to be living in the property. So they don't want to be jumping through hoops and dealing with interesting sort of scenarios when they're buying a home, especially when they have other options out there. So working with investors, and depending on the situation, it could be a cash offer. It could be our cash plus offer, which is unique to Effortless home buyers. It could be partnering on the property, or it could be taking equity over time, are going to be the best routes to mitigate any sort of interesting term scenarios. So with a cash offer, that's one that doesn't have any sort of finance contingencies. And it's one where we buy typically as is, where is, and we're able to be flexible on the closing timeline because we're not dealing with a bank. At Effortless Home Buyers, we have a very large network of investors that rely upon us for partnership and acquisition opportunities. So we're able to use our internal capital as well as our investors' capital on purchasing a property. And with that, we don't have to worry about any sort of bank timelines or finance contingencies. So with those, if there's a certain date that a tenant's moving out, if there's something about city inspections that are requiring certain things to be done at a certain timeline, if it's something where it wouldn't necessarily qualify for traditional financing or a traditional sale, if there's interesting liens on it, if there's interesting easements involved, this is typically a cash offer scenario. Now, if it's something where you have a period of time where somebody has to be living in the property and there's repairs that are needed and there's multiple people involved in the transaction and they've got a certain dollar amount in mind, but in its current condition, it's not worth that amount of money because it needs repairs for it to get up to that after repair value, this is something where partnership or equity over time typically come into play. Now, with partnership, you'd be contributing the property to a newly formed trust where we would have a third-party administrator, like a lawyer, taking care of all that and administrating the trust. We would contribute all of the funds needed for the repairs of the property. We would manage the rehab of the property. We would then list the property on the market after repairs have been completed. And then once the property is sold to an owner-occupant at its newly raised price point, you, as the sellers, would get a predetermined price. You get a preferred return, which would be higher than what you would normally be able to sell the property had the repairs not been done. We would get all of our rehab funds back that we contributed to the repair of the property for. And anything left over is profit that's split 50-50. It's a true partnership. So that one we find often helps out with timelines of moving parts, people moving in, moving out, that sort of thing. Now, with equity over time, that's where you get some money today and you get the rest of the money over a period of time. With that, you get to kind of name your own price. It's name your own price scenario because whatever price you need, we can typically make that happen, but the terms revolving around that price, they can be fluid. So you say, Stephen, I need $1 million and I need $100,000 2 weeks from now. Then the other $1 million, it doesn't matter how long I get that for. We can go, okay, Well, we can do that. But if you need $100,000 2 weeks from now, here's how much we can pay per month. And here's how many months that we're going to have to pay it over time for you to get to that full $1 million. Now, depending on certain needs, if you have a mortgage in place, if there's other things at play, we can have there be interest, there could be no interest. You get the same protections as a bank. The moral of the story is that working with investors, when it's a terms priority, results in flexibility that you normally wouldn't be finding if you were not working with an investor. So if terms are your priority, we would suggest working with an investor.